Yanking on my hair, I stare at the phone on the coffee table. My elbows are propped on my knees as I sit on the couch, both hands gripping fistfuls of hair. I will the phone to ring, but it doesn't. And it has already been 2 hours since I called and left a message. The awful feeling in my gut tells me that he won't call back. He's the one who sold me the goddamn thing. He must know what I can do to stop it. There comes a guttural sound from the bedroom, like 2 giant dogs growling. Leaping up from the couch, I move to the bedroom, open the door, and peer inside. It's in the dark room, but I can still vaguely see my girlfriend, Seda, on the bed. She's struggling against the binds I used to tie her down, and she keeps making that terrible sound. Suddenly, she stops, turning her head toward me. Her solidly white eyes give off a faint glow.
Baby, please let me out. I'll be okay. Just let me out.
I shut the door, knowing I'll have to sedate her again soon. Then I move back over to my phone. The ringer is turned up all the way, but I think maybe I missed his call. The phone shows no missed calls. I sit back down, grabbing handfuls of my hair again.
Please, call me back. Please, God. I don't know what to do.
The whole thing started while I was searching for a story. Being a freelance journalist is not easy these days. Not if you want to make a decent living. I needed something juicy, something that would be picked up by a major media outlet that could actually pay me well for all the hours I'd put in. And I'd been thinking about a series on the dark web for some time. So I contacted a couple of editors at some big-name outlets and ran the idea past them. One of them bit, wanting a story proposal on what exactly the first piece would be on. He said if it did well, they'd hire me for additional pieces. So I sat down, cracked my knuckles, and logged onto the dark web. But I didn't want just any old dark website. Pieces had been done to death on the ones that offered DDoS attack services or sold medical information and credit card numbers. That was all well-known stuff, yesterday's news. I wanted something unique. And when I found the site selling cursed items, I didn't think much of it. You could find similar sites on the regular web, selling supposedly haunted or cursed items. But that itself was strange. Why would you limit your shop to the dark web when it wasn't illegal to sell cursed items on the regular web? It kept me on the site, and I got to looking around. I noticed there was an email address for contacting the site's proprietor, and suddenly, an idea came to mind. I could do a story on the man or woman, the first in a series of exposés about people who make their living on the dark web. This cursed items site was the perfect place to start because it wasn't illegal. I could convince the person to talk to me, even if it meant using a pseudonym when I published the story. So I emailed the address and waited. Unfortunately, the response I got back wasn't what I'd been looking for. The person said I had to buy something or get lost, in so many words. So I emailed back and said I would buy something only if the person was willing to meet with me. Again, he refused. But I was persistent. And finally, after several emails back and forth, he capitulated. 2 days later, I was on a plane to Los Angeles. The guy's name was Herbert. He wouldn't tell me his last name, and he was skittish at first. But the interview went about as well as could be expected. After I bought what was supposedly a cursed woman's coat for several $100s, it was a simple dark green wool coat with a fur collar. I didn't think much of it. I flew home, hung the coat up in my closet, and filed the story. Then I came home this evening to find that Seda had found the coat and put it on. She was standing in the middle of the living room when I came in. I laughed.
You found the haunted coat. How do you feel?
She turned around, looking at me with her blank white eyes, and said,
"It's good to be back."
in a deep voice very much not her own.
"Can't stay long, though,"
she said, bringing a kitchen knife up to her neck. I lunged for her, grabbing her wrist, but not before she punctured the skin on her neck. I was exhausted by the time I got her subdued on the bed, and when I tried to take the coat off her, I found that it was fused to her skin. It was as if it had melted through her t-shirt and become a part of her. I didn't know what to do. Now, I'm sitting, waiting for Herbert to call me back, and I hear something crash in the bedroom. Jumping up from the couch again, I barge into the bedroom in time to see Seda throw herself at the bedroom window. The glass shatters, and she's gone. I run up to the window, screaming Seta's name, as if that will help. Looking down, I see her twisted and broken body 6 floors below. Somehow, the coat has come off. It blows in the wind, flapping as it moves away from Seta's body like something alive. Back in the living room, the phone rings. Numb, I move slowly out of the bedroom, past the bed with the broken frame, and answer the phone. It's Herbert. "Maybe now you'll learn to mind your own business," he says. He laughs as I drop the phone onto the carpet. And I can still hear his tinny laughter as I walk out of my apartment to go down and get the coat. I haven't decided yet whether I'll burn it or wear it. Maybe both at once. There's a whoosh as the Molotov cocktail hits the floor in my front room, the tinkle of falling window glass barely audible over the sound. But I'm ready for it. I limp out of the kitchen, pain flaring in my bloody left leg as I go. Working the fire extinguisher in my hands, I put the fire out quickly. Then I get up to the window, staying out of view as I drop the extinguisher and pull out the pistol from my back waistband. Once I have the cig in hand, I pivot, grimacing against the pain in my leg. I don't see anyone at first, but there aren't a ton of places to hide in my front yard. I haven't yet figured out how they bypassed my security system and got over the wall. That in itself tells me these aren't some off-the-rack gangsters. Then again, I know exactly who's behind this. I wouldn't be any good at what I do if I didn't know that. I was in a hurry when I got home earlier, so I parked my SUV out front, which was a bad idea, because now I'm pretty sure someone's hiding behind it. Probably with another damn Molotov cocktail. Sure enough, I hear the faint click of a Zippo closing. A guy in a black mask and dark clothing pops up from behind the hood of the Range Rover, flaming bottle in hand. I fire 3 shots, and the guy twitches as the bullets punch into him. His arm comes forward, but not enough to throw the bottle. Instead, it falls and shatters on the hood of the SUV, flames spreading quickly.
Son of a...
I mutter through clenched teeth.
That's my favorite car.
As I scan my front yard, looking for any other intruders, I decide it's time to bring out the big guns. This guy doesn't know who he's messing with. I limp out of the front room and toward the stairs, going past the dog-sized robot that shot me in the leg with its built-in gun. I didn't have to use a weapon on that one. I simply got clear of the thing and used my phone to hack and then disable it. Now it just stands there on its 4 legs like a statue. Like I said, this guy doesn't know who he's messing with. I've been around the block once or twice, and this guy just learned to walk. Granted, he's persistent and ballsy, but I doubt either of those factors will save him. You see, I make my money on the dark web. I'm what you might call a white-hat entrepreneur. I offer a wide array of services, most of them designed to f with those who murder or ruin lives. I don't know how many human trafficking dark sites I've disabled, how many cannibal businesses I've dropped a dime on, how many DDoS attacks I've perpetrated on black hat sites. But I don't do this for free. A guy's gotta make a living. Anyway, that's how this all started. I maintain a site on the dark web so people can access my services. And I got a message from another dark web entrepreneur, kind of like a confidential informant, a 2-bit criminal who I let operate with relative impunity so I can get information when I need it. This guy messaged me and told me someone hired him to sabotage my site. So I contacted the guy, the one who was paying to have my site sabotaged, and asked him nicely to f off and die. He didn't like that. And although he's just learning to walk, it seems he has a talent for it. Some people do. Somehow, he found out who I was and where I live. That's no easy feat. So if I don't stop this guy now, he's gonna lap me before I know what's happening. As I get up the stairs, I hear someone breaking in downstairs. Leaving a trail of blood behind, I make it to my safe room, just as 2 guys in black wearing large backpacks appear at the end of the hall. I duck out of the way as one of them fires a shotgun at me. One of the pellets ricochets off the metal walls of my safe room and embeds itself in my back. I cry out, even as I hit the button for the door, which slams shut, locking me inside the windowless room. Ignoring the new pain, I sit at my computer, thankful it wasn't hit by any ricocheting pellets, and I get to work. You see, you can find pretty much anything on the dark web. I'm talking anything. If you just know where to look, you can hire services that many people would never even dream exist. Most of these services are stupid expensive, which is why they're not used very often. But before I can hire one of these services to help me solve my problem, I first need to find an address. Glancing at one of my cameras, I see the two guys outside the safe room haven't given up. They've busted through the drywall and are working on cutting through the metal plating so they can access the door operation system. I'd better make this quick. If they know what they're doing, I have 10 minutes, 15 at most. Bringing out my phone, I reactivate the robot downstairs. I try to give it commands, but the guy is blocking me. He figured out that I hacked it, so I can't use the robot yet. First, I have to get rid of the guy blocking the robot's signal. Luckily, I still have some tricks up my sleeve. I use the robot's signal, backtracking it to where the guy is. It takes me nearly 10 minutes as I break through digital walls and dodge roadblocks, but I find him. By now, the guys outside have gotten through the metal shell, and they're doing the more delicate work of connecting to the door's interface. No time to waste. Heading back to the dark web, I choose a service, fill out their form, pay them a load of money, and then wait. After a moment, the screen changes. I see a guy sitting in a room. I know that I'm seeing him through a hacked webcam. He's maybe in his late 20s, dark, curly hair and pale skin. He doesn't know his system has been hacked, not yet, and by the time he realizes it, it'll be too late. Behind the man, in the darkness of his room, a black ski mask fades into view. It's that of a hitman, his features concealed. The man seems to sense it. He turns slowly in his seat and screams, jumping up from his chair. The hitman tears into him, knifing him in the chest multiple times. With that done, I pick up my phone and quickly punch in a few commands. As I watch on the camera feed, the robot appears behind the two men in the hallway. And just as they get the door open, I finish the commands. The robot shoots both men several times in quick succession with the gun embedded in its head. Both men fall down dead. I stand up and step to the doorway, looking at the mess I'll have to clean up. Luckily, there's a dark web service for that. The window that popped up on my screen asked if I'd recently experienced any trauma. I mean, wasn't being alive a constant barrage of trauma? I laughed to myself and clicked the no button. The next window asked if I'd recently lost a close relative.
Wow, they're really laying it on thick here,
I muttered.
I already paid your money. Just let me see a stupid ritual.
My mom had died only a month before, but it wasn't something I wanted to think about just then. I was on the dark web searching for entertainment, not some therapy session. Talk about a source of trauma. My mother had not been a nice woman, and she'd made my life a living hell. She was mentally and physically abusive, and the accident that killed her, falling down the basement stairs, wasn't quite the accident the authorities thought it was. But I didn't want to think about that, so I clicked no again. Then some long disclaimer came up about not being able to guarantee safety, not being financially liable for any adverse events, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's the dark web. Why would they have a disclaimer? After I clicked accept terms, the site presented me with an array of small video thumbnails. They all had a little green circle in the top right corner with the word live next to it. I clicked one at random. It filled my screen. There were 5 people sitting around a table in a dark room. There were a few candles here and there, providing just enough illumination for me to see by. There was what looked like a piece of human skin stretched out and nailed to the table. 4 of the 5 people held strange items in their hands as they chanted and rocked back and forth in their seats. The 5th person, a woman, was cutting elaborate designs into the skin with some kind of small dagger. Around them, in the background, ghostly shapes began to appear and disappear as if phasing in and out of our dimension. Neat trick, I said. Sure, it was some visual effect. Probably pretty easy to do. The video said it was live, but there was no way I could verify that. It was probably bull. But I watched nonetheless as the chanting grew louder and the woman cut designs into the skin faster.
Hold her in your mind,
the woman said. I knew she wasn't talking to me. She was talking to someone in the room with her. Still, I couldn't help but think of my mother. The night before she died, she'd come into my room while I was trying to sleep. It was something she did when she was drunk. This time, she had a knife, and she pressed the tip to my chest just above my heart. She told me what a worthless piece of shit I was. She told me how she'd wished she never had me, and how she would kill me one day. Sitting at my desk in my room, My mother a month in the ground. I could almost feel her there, like it was that night again, and I was in bed, the tip of the knife just puncturing my skin. The candles in the room on my computer screen flared up, shooting huge tongues of flame toward the ceiling before they went out, plunging the room into darkness. Then the 5 people started screaming. Sounds of violence came through my speakers. I stared, open-mouthed, until the feed cut off and a connection lost. Please try another feed message came up. After exiting my Tor browser, I quickly shut my computer down. It was a coincidence, I told myself. That's all. Just a coincidence. I made dinner and watched a comedy show on the television in the living room, calming myself down. Then I went to bed. I was still awake when my bedroom door opened. My mother came into the room, head sitting at a wrong angle to her neck. Her skin hung off her face and her eyes pointed in different directions. She had a knife in her hand. I moved to sit up, but she was suddenly there sitting on my bed, knife pressing through my t-shirt and into my skin.
I told you I'd kill you one day,
she said, plunging the knife slowly between my ribs as I struggled to do something, anything. But when I reached up to clutch her arm, to shove her off me, my hands passed through her like she was nothing. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and smash that like button to get notified every time I upload a new video.